My name is Kate Theobald, and I am looking at the economic benefits of hiring and retaining female faculty. First, I want to start by introducing my interests and how they pair with what we have studied in class to lead to this presentation topic. First, I'm interested in learning more about the effects of compassion fatigue on women in higher education. Compassion fatigue is a unique form of burnout that affects people in caregiving professions. A lot of research has been done here in the healthcare field, but I would like to extend that research and expand upon it specific to higher education. Ultimately, I want to know how to better support women working in higher education in order to improve job satisfaction and retention. This topic fits well within the scope of higher education finance because hiring practices and employee retention are economic issues, and there are facets of these issues that are unique for women. While the immediate economic consequences of not hiring and retaining female faculty are not quite as obvious as some other economic issues, the long-term consequences to an institution are important to consider. I will look later in this presentation at both short-term and long-term effects. So, does hiring and retaining female faculty and leaders in higher ed matter? Yes, absolutely. Research supports that a diverse staff that includes female leadership is good for the bottom line, which is often what's ultimately considered when looking at economic issues. Studies show that gender diversity in organizations' top offices and in the boardroom is not just a matter of social justice and advancement, but a smart business move as well. Teague goes on to reference Madsen and writes, corporate studies have shown that entities with more women in leadership positions not only are more profitable, but also more productive and innovative. As colleges and universities prepare for the replacement of its leaders, lessons learned in the business world should be considered. So it definitely does matter within higher ed. So where are all the women? Despite evidence that diverse leadership that includes women makes a positive difference to a company's or institution's economic outcomes, higher education leadership is still disproportionately male. That is a problem that we can use research findings to come up with solutions and fix. McCoy, Newell, and Gardner point out that women are leaving higher education, and institutions often lack the resources to replace them. This is an economic consequence that departments and institutions will feel immediately. All employees, but specifically women in higher education, need more. More opportunities for professional development, more supported growth within their institutions, and more increased resources to promote job satisfaction and work-life balance. Institutions will see a worthwhile return on their investment when they work to develop and retain female faculty and leaders. With many leaders coming from within an institution, it should be considered vital to develop and invest in the people currently working for that institution. Let's take a brief look at some of the relevant literature. It's important first to understand that the pool of female candidates for leadership positions in higher education is considerably smaller than the pool of male candidates, because fewer women hold high-ranking faculty positions, the positions from which leaders are often developed and chosen. We can see in the graph to the right that at the instructor level, women hold a slight majority of the positions. When we move to the assistant professor level, we still see equity, with women holding just below 50% of the positions. However, we see a drastic difference, about 20 percentage points, when we move to full professors. There we see less than 30% of the positions filled by women. If we were to extend that, we would find that only 26% of university and college presidents are women. So something is being lost between the assistant and full professor level, which indicates that that level is a great place to focus our efforts to grow the pool of female candidates for higher leadership positions, like deans, AVPs, VPs, provosts, and presidents. So why is all of this important? Is it actually affecting our institutions? Yes. The literature shows that a diverse faculty that includes women can lead to higher student retention, which in turn is economically advantageous for the institution. Including women as a minority, Abdul Rahim writes that there is a need for minority faculty in higher education due to the increase in minority high school graduates and higher education enrollees. He goes on to say that minority students value the interaction and commonalities they have with minority faculty. When I was in the MED program, it came up in several classes that there's a body of research that shows the importance to RPG, retention, progression, and graduation, of students making a connection to someone at their college or university within the first few weeks. Students need to see themselves reflected in the leadership and faculty at their institution so that they can make those connections with them. Excuse me. We know that job satisfaction and opportunities for growth are essential for female faculty retention. Tenure plays a large role here. Studies show that tenure status had a major impact on overall job satisfaction levels. Female faculty's lower rate of achieving tenure intensifies the overrepresentation of the lowest and least secure levels of the academy. We saw that illustrated in the chart on the last slide. This lack of security may be why tenure and its influence on job satisfaction proved to be so significant. Another study showed that minority faculty who are tenured with adequate mentors will be more likely to stay employed at an institution and to promote student and institutional excellence. Teague also notes other reasons for low job satisfaction, writing, quote, "Today's barriers are more likely to result from gender-based preferences in recruitment, hiring decisions and work assignments, lack of effective mentorships, and lack of leadership development experience," end quote. Now we'll dive into the long-term economic effects that I mentioned in the beginning. We've seen that the importance of purposefully hiring, retaining, and promoting female faculty members, and of having diverse leadership, extends beyond issues of equality to include economic benefits as well. I do feel that I should note here that issues of equity are no less important than economic issues. However, the economic benefits are the main focus of this presentation. We saw in our text for class that the ultimate success of any college or university, this is a Credibix text, depends on the quality of the people it hires. Institutional success has to be considered an economic issue as well as an educational one. An unsuccessful institution will suffer financially. Let's take a look at some of the concepts we've studied already in this class and extend them out to a logical conclusion based on the evidence presented here. First, we know that as higher education funding has shifted from largely state-supported to student-supported, schools have been relying more on revenue from tuition and fees. We also know from experience working in higher ed and from our readings that student retention, progression, and graduation, RPG, is a main focus for today's institutions. As the research I've presented here shows, a balanced, diverse faculty and body of leadership will allow more students to feel connected to their institution. Lastly, according to the National Center for Education Statistics, NCES, of the projected 15.6 million students entering post-secondary education in 2008, women will account for 57% of full-time enrollments. By 2017, the semester we're coming up on, they predict more than 2 million more female undergraduates than males. There is a logical connection between these three pieces of information. We focus on RPG more intently because we were relying on those continued student tuition dollars, and women will make up the majority of the student body in post-secondary institutions. Therefore, we need to focus on how to retain them. We can look at that train going in either direction, and then when coupled with the research presented here in this presentation, we still come away with the importance of having an increased female presence in the faculty and leadership in our institutions. In addition to the big picture economic effects of hiring and retaining female and faculty leaders, there are some short-term effects that we can also explore that are felt more immediately. Simply put, it is more economical to train and retain than it is to hire. Employee retention is cost-effective, as the process to hire and train a new employee can be expensive. Both monetary and time resources are required when hiring new faculty, not only in the actual hiring process, but also in covering the duties that the position is responsible for in the meantime while that process is going on. When we head into a new fiscal year, budget managers must carefully establish their department's budget based on projected revenue or allocated budget and expenses. Hiring a new faculty member mid-year can cause a reevaluation of the budget and spending priorities for the rest of the budget cycle, especially when that hiring process was not planned if someone leaves. A purposeful focus on retaining female faculty members is necessary because women in higher education faculty positions report lower job satisfaction than men. Budget managers can plan ahead for retention efforts and professional development to make those efforts part of the budget without the unexpectedness that comes with an employee leaving mid-year. We'll wrap up by looking at the implications to policy, practice, and research, and then consider some suggestions for what leaders can do now. As for policy, thankfully, policy already exists at the state and federal level to protect against gender discrimination in hiring and promotion practices. Where we need to focus most is in the implementation and enforcement of those policies in practice. In reality, we see that data does not show balance in terms of gender, starting at the full professor level and extending into president positions. For future research, we should explore causes of the discrepancies we see in the data And then higher ed leaders need to use that research to design, implement, study, refine, and roll out programs to promote female faculty retention and promotion. So what can leaders do now to start making a difference in their institutions? Easterly and Ricard suggest several actions leaders can take right away. First, they should ensure that Title IX is enforced, especially where research is concerned. Next, they can work to mask gender in letters of support and CVs when this material is reviewed for tenure, promotion, and other advancement. They suggest using first initials and last names to help with this. They also point out that research shows that when manuscripts were judged under a double-blind review, the number of women who were published actually increased. So there is evidence to support the suggestion. Next, clearly define requirements for tenure and promotion, and make sure faculty members receive that information. Also, define merit and success within each department, as men and women often define those differently when not given clear definitions. Lastly, develop professional networks for women on campus to give them a community of support. Educate leaders about unconscious gender bias. Providing evidence of the discrepancies in the numbers of female and male faculty at all ranks and in various disciplines will also help. Being aware of the issue is an important first step towards fixing it. I'll conclude on my references list. So thank you for watching my presentation, and I look forward to receiving feedback as we watch each other's videos.